Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to the community conversation. This is a hujjat initiative. In these regular conversations with individuals, we will explore their struggles, achievements, courage and disappointment that shaped and guided their faith, family and community. Today we have with us a well-known personality in the community, an internationally recognized sports personality and past chairman of our Nairobi Jamaat. He is with us today to share his life journey and experiences. He is Al-Hajj Asif Karim. Welcome, Asif.
Thank you very much,
Asif Karim was born in Mombasa. His Marhum Father, Yusuf Karim, was a well-known national sports personality in Kenya with a number of achievements to his name, particularly in cricket and tennis. In his sporting footsteps, Asif walked and took his achievements to international level and famously performed his best and awarded a Man of the Match award in 2003 during a World Cup match against world champions Australia in South Africa. After his retirement from the active sports, he went on to produce a documentary and a coffee table book on his family's sporting achievements titled The Karims, a Sporting Dynasty. He subsequently went on to become the chairman of Kenya International Sports Film Festival, contributing his time and effort to the development of sport in Kenya. He served the community as chairman of Shia Ithna-Asheri community in Nairobi from 2009 to 2013, during which time he launched many projects, including the housing projects at Lavington, Nairobi. He runs a leading insurance brokerage company in Kenya, Aristocrats Insurance Brokers Ltd, with a number of achievements and awards in the field of insurance. He is a member of the Insurance Advisory Board to the Government of Kenya, as well as an accredited mediator. He writes a column for Sports Monthly of Kenya and commentates for international cricket matches for many TV and radio outlets nationally and internationally. Welcome, Asif Bhai, to the community conversation.
Thank you for this opportunity to share this.
So, what an impressive CV you have. Talk to us what you're doing presently.
Well, I am very much inclined to some of the areas that you have talked about. For example, promoting sports. And I think it's a responsibility to give back to the society for what our family has achieved over the last 100 years since migrating to Mombasa in 1926 from India. And so the family has had a rich heritage of sports. And now my son, of course, also plays international sports cricket for Kenya and in England when possible. So I do promote sports by organizing a sports film festival. I'm in business. I'm also a big practitioner of alternate dispute resolution, which is arbitration and mediation.
Okay, I mean, you have got so many things to do. You were playing sports almost, it was a passionate, I think,
Absolutely,
for you,
yeah.
Both tennis and cricket, I believe. But how do you what's the formula of success? I mean, you have insurance business, your family life, the sporting life. So how did you manage to combine everything?
In fact, that's a question many people ask, and sometimes I ask myself. But I always believe that if you're passionate about something that you do, then it's not work. It's something you
formula?
love.
That's
there is no
There's
formula.
no
I mean,
formula.
it's commitment is the formula. It's passion about what you do. You know, when you are taking part in anything that you do, you need to push it through. You know, there are many times on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you accomplish it, and when people reach at 7, 8, and hiccups starts coming in, many people kind of, take a backtrack. But I think that's the time to persevere and try and push through to what you want to achieve. So it's a commitment, it's a passionate in what you do.
Was there any emotional moments for you during this time? I mean, combining all these things with family life and all that. And how did you manage those emotions?
Well, obviously we all go through emotions up and down. That's life, as they say, all seasons are not the same during the year. So we do go through those challenges, and as we said, that we have faith that keeps us going, especially when times are challenging, and we also thank God when things are going well. And so it's a matter of just balancing and good family support. I think that is very critical.
I think we'll come to that during our conversation. But just coming back to the sporting, the sports festivals, that is your current project, I think.
The film festival.
The film festival, yeah. How is it impacting the sports in, say, Kenya? And then perhaps talk to us about how it is impacting the sports in the community. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, what I think has happened is the concept of the sports film festival came in when we did the sports documentary on the family, you know, the rich heritage that was there. And I learned this from my father because he had a good archive material on his achievements over this, because in those days, in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, we had no internet or there were no social media. So newspaper was mainly the outlet. And so he had a lot of excellent newspaper articles. It was a huge thing those days. And so I followed through during my young career from the 70s until to where we are. And so there was an Indian director who came to see me once, and he felt that we should do a documentary on the family. And of course, I laughed it out at that stage because it was unheard of. We would only think that documentaries are for the Ronaldos and the Peles and, you know, the big names. So
you are a big name.
No, but then, you know, at that stage, we never thought on those lines. So he was very persistent. So long story short, we did this documentary, which then featured in various international sports film festivals. And my wife and myself were invited to India. That's where it was premiered. And when I went to watch that premiere and the film festival, there were brilliant sports documentaries from around the world. And it struck to me straight away that this is a brilliant concept. And Kenya has, I mean, renowned world stars, you know, from athletics to cricket to various sports. So I said, as soon as I finish my book launch, I'm going to do that as a new project. And we came up with the concept that sports brings people together, irrespective of what color you are, what religion you are, what background you come from. It does not matter. Even when we see sports, you see everybody coming together. And then the sports movies and documentaries inspire society. So I think,
is your sports movie international, or would you concentrate on the national achievements, the sporting movies that you may have or have? Would it be concentrating on the Kenya achievements or international?
Currently, the concept is to awaken the creative industry in Kenya to start doing a heritage and a record of the sports achievements of the Kenya.
That's right. Yeah.
But the film festival brings movies from around the world. Like this year,
that's the international part.
It's totally international, right? For this year, we had over 1,400 submissions from 110 countries.
Right. Okay.
You know, so it's a wake-up thing. It's a very inspiring because you see the different countries. I mean, we even have parasports, you know, for differently able.
Can you explain to the audience what is parasports?
Yeah, parasports are the differently able people who are involved in the sports. They have taken it as a challenge to that the sports is possible, irrespective of any health conditions.
So they've got a potential.
Absolutely, huge potential.
Irrespective.
So we get, as I said, movies from various countries, and so the jury now, currently as we're talking, it's next month, so they are doing their final judging. It's an independent jury, where we then showcase about 40 short documentaries to long documentaries to feature films to animation over the 4-day period, which will be hybrid, so people globally can watch it on the internet, on the website, they can watch it on the YouTube, and then we also have various panel discussions affecting sports in Kenya and globally.
All right. Now, that's a very good explanation. So just sort of evolving from there, that discussion, what about the impact in our own local community, our own community? Do you have a role to play, or up till today, they haven't found a role to play in sports?
Well, you know, our community has a very rich heritage of sports in East Africa.
Right.
You know, we've all come from there. I mean, you are fully conversant on how the sports stars and how important it was in the community. But sadly, we hardly have anything on record. You know,
that is a tragedy.
It's a huge tragedy, and I think it should be taken upon, where we need to pick up. I mean, what you're doing right now is very important. You are creating a history record. You're creating a culture of record keeping, which is very important because the years are going by. Our senior people are, you know, passing away. So where is that valuable information that is important for the heritage and the history of our community. So one of the areas is, of course, book writing, which our community has been fairly good. But we hardly have any documentaries on sports, on our sports stars, on our sports achievements. You know, on like, for example, Mombasa Jaffrey Club is over 100 years.
It's got a renowned history.
It's a huge history, you know. So we need to create. I mean, I'm giving an example.
No, that's right.
That could be. Then, if you look at the various sports families, we have sporting heritage, sporting families that have come from this community, but we hardly have anything.
Yeah, I think we'll discuss that when we come to your childhood and who were the renowned personalities that influenced you. Apart from, I think your dad influenced you hugely.
Totally. Well, yeah.
Now, what I want to now sort of talk about is your other side of the sporting skill and ability. I think you then developed into becoming a sport commentator. So talk to us or share with us, what does it involve and how do you find that aspect of your sporting life?
What happens in international sports, whether it's cricket or tennis or football, when a country participates, they would want a local person to be in the commentary box.
Because he has local knowledge.
Absolutely. He knows the local conditions, he knows the players themselves. So it's a good conversation to have ongoing. So that was something very fascinating. I really enjoyed it. It's unfortunate that Kenyan cricket went down. So obviously,
why do you think it went down?
Well, that's a subject on its own because
you know, but whatever your
I mean, the major issue is like for any. If you look at any developing sporting country, there are three fundamental issues that are very critical for the success of any sporting nation. One, you must have a very solid development structure.
Which that infrastructure is lacking.
Absolutely,
still lacking.
Very poor. Because where are the...
In spite of the fact that you achieved so much?
Absolutely.
And cricket and all that?
That's where the whole tragedy is. You know, so where you had the International Cricket Council.
Yeah,
International Cricket Council supported us. We were our own enemies. I don't blame anybody on this. I would say we should take the full responsibility as Kenya Cricket for having where we are. So if you don't have a development structure, you know, where you have the under 11, the under 13, the under 15, that's your feeding system.
And that system wasn't there.
It wasn't there.
Right.
Not effective. Two, you must have very solid domestic competition to attract, the business community. You attract the crowd, and then you must also be playing at a high level. You know, because you can only improve when you play people better than you. If you're going to play people weaker than you, then you maybe get complacent. So those
That's a
are
very
some,
good point. Yeah.
So those are some of the things that I think we lack ourselves.
How about sharing some, if you can remember, sharing some anecdote and some exciting thing that may have occurred during your commentating period, if you remember. If you can't remember, it's perfectly all right.
Well, I mean,
I'm putting you on the
spot. No, commenting is something that happens, as you're watching the action, and it's something very exciting because you are now sharing your experience.
Any moments that you can share?
Not particular, but what happens is, as far as the audience is concerned, is that they regard the commentators, even when we listen to commentary now on any sport, we regard them as really the Bible or the Quran. Whatever they say is absolutely spot on. So obviously you want to also, as a commentator, want to make it exciting. And share something that they are watching also, because remember, the viewers are watching what you are watching. The only difference is you can speak and they are hearing you. So as far as what you are asking, I can't think of anything right now in particular.
No, that's fine. I want to now come back to your career. You are a member of arbitration society.
Yes.
And also you sit on the insurance panel. So talk to us about your role there. What is your role in the insurance and then the arbitration? How did you get involved with arbitration? Or how did your passion go that way?
Okay. I'll first talk on insurance.
First insurance. And
I studied, when I was in America on a tennis scholarship, I studied and got my degree in business with insurance as a specialty. So I carried on as a business when I got back to Kenya. And so been in practice for...
At the moment, I'll come to that.
Yeah.
Speak to us about what is your role there. When you sit on the panel, what do you do?
I used to be in the board of the advisory board of the government, and our job then was to see and create a structure where we organize what they call the IRA, Insurance Regulatory Authority.
Okay.
So the job of the IRA is to regulate the industry, the insurance industry, in making sure that it conforms with the laws and the regulations of the country and what is required to run an insurance industry, be it an insurance company, be it a reinsurance company, be it a broker or an agent. Anybody related to the industry must conform with the rules and the regulations.
Oh, that's fascinating. So, Kenya have a powerful insurance industry?
Yes, it is a very strong industry. Of course, like any other industries, there's always room for improvement. So the regulatory authority, which was formed in 2007, is now about 16 years old. So it is a quite strong regulatory authority.
Right. Now, what about the arbitration? How did you sort of get into that?
It was by accident. In 2006, I had a dispute with the Kenya Airport Authority because I had a forex bureau there, and they had given me permission to do a building. So having gone through the entire process, and then all of a sudden said, "Oh, now we can't give you because of various reasons." And so I said, "But I've invested money in this from the approvals that you gave us. So what's the option?" So long story short, that now we need to resolve it. So I said, obviously there's going to be legal action on the matter. So they said, no, you can't go to court. I said, but why? There's a problem. He says, no, we have what we call arbitration. So it was the first time for me to hear it then. So we went into arbitration, where it's a very privately consensus process, where an arbitrator is appointed and he listens to the two parties on dispute, and his judgment then becomes final and binding. And I found that process very fascinating. It was very fast, it was very quick, private, effective, and the job was done. When you look at the legal court system, you can go to court and spend years.
It's more adversarial, isn't it?
Yeah, and absolutely. It's a backlog. Then after the judgment is given, the loser normally appeals, so it can drag. In arbitration, it's a very fast process, and it's final and binding. So from there, I thought, wow, this is something I'm excited. So I pursued further what we call continuous education. I started studying on the subject, and I did my exams with the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK, and in 2016, 2017, I became a fellow.
Right. So what do you do then as a
So
fellow?
I'm now an arbitrator. So what happens is when people have disputes...
Do they have a choice in the matter who the arbitrator is?
Yes.
The parties can choose?
Absolutely. There is a choice and there is a process, depending on the agreement that the parties have on whatever agreements they have. So there
are options?
There are options. So there's what they call dispute resolution mechanism, where they say that in case there is a dispute, how will they resolve it? So normally it's a negotiating between themselves. If that fails, then they go into mediation, where the mediator does not make a decision. A mediator is only facilitating the two parties, helping them make a decision, but they make the decision. So I'm also an accredited mediator, so I practice that also.
So there's a difference. Mediator,
there is, absolutely.
Okay.
An arbitrator is a judge.
Yeah.
Where two parties have a problem, they come and present it to the arbitrator makes the decision.
So in that sense, the mediator, both parties would have a mediator or one mediator?
One mediator.
So
each party can come with their lawyers if they wish to.
Yes, but the mediator is the one who mediates.
He's the one who controls the whole process on how...
So eventually, if he's not able to mediate, it goes to arbitration.
If the agreement allows that.
Right. So there has to be a prior
agreement. And the best form of dispute resolution, whether it's marital, whether it's business, whether it's community, is to go to mediation, because that becomes a win-win situation.
Sure, yeah. Okay, now, Asif, I think I would like to come to your childhood now. Where were you born?
I was born in Mombasa, 1963.
Happy that you were born in Mombasa?
Well, like all East African states, all East Africans, I would say, are proud of where they are born.
Yeah, of course. I'll just stop.
Yeah.
I put a question on to see what sort of answer would I get. Anyway, so schooling?
Schooling in Alibai Panju, Jaffrey Primary School is where I did my primary.
Talk to me about that, because this is our community school.
Absolutely, it's our community school. I think that was formed in the early 50s.
Right.
Has a very rich history. There have been some very formidable students that have come out. Most of our community leaders have come from Mombasa who have graduated from Alibai Panju School. We had a very good sporting structure which played an important role for many of the youngsters who played sports. It was only a primary school, and of course then I went to the high school, and Aga Khan High School in Mombasa.
Were you sort of playing cricket during your school days?
Yes, of course. That was an inborn thing. In Khojas, when it was a joke in those days where they said that when a Khoja is born, he is born with a bat and a ball, because that's what we were known for. Cricket being a very prominent sport in the community for the last 100 years.
So cricket was the first sport you must have played then?
Yes.
And tennis?
Tennis, of course, played because we had Jaffrey Sports Club, which was had tennis, cricket, football, and volleyball. Those were the four main sports played at the club.
Right.
And then, of course, my father was a huge, renowned name in those days, and so that influence from home automatically got my brother and myself into tennis.
Right. So your father he played cricket at the national level and played tennis at the national level as well?
He played cricket not at the national level. He played for Mombasa combined, but played against various visiting countries. That
International.
From India, from Pakistan, from England, MCC used to come.
So during his time, it was a colonial time, I think, at the time.
Indeed.
Indeed. So during that time, I suppose the choosing mechanism differed. I mean, an Asian skilled player, would he be automatically be chosen, do you think, representing Kenya national team?
Not at all. It was various challenges. Remember, there was politics.
That's right.
There was racism. There was religion constraints. Then there was politics among our own community. So there were various constraints, and the homework and the research that I did when we were doing the documentary and the coffee table book that we did, I felt very sad of what he went through. That being such a formidable sportsman, I mean, he was an icon. As many people say, there's one Pele born in 100 years, there's one Sachin Tendulkar born in 100 years. I would say there was one Yusuf Karim born in 100 years. He was something of an icon. And if you talk to the people of his generation, I remember watching one of your interviews with Mumtaz Qasim. And he said that when Yusuf Karim walked into the field, the whole ground would shake. I think those are the words that he used. And so he was a huge name, and I felt sad that...
An inspirational figure within the community?
Inspirational, not to the community,
no,
to the entire town.
Yeah, but within the community.
Huge. He was huge. He was a huge name. People remember him even now. So as I said, I got more in depth after doing this.
Yes. So apart from your father, who were the other figures, both community and non-community, who shaped your passion towards particularly cricket and tennis?
Well, there were many cricketers in Mombasa in those days.
Our
club, yes, of course, we had.
Who name some of them?
Marhum Bastomi, was also.
What was he so good at?
He was a batsman, and he was very charismatic in terms of his dressing.
Really?
He was very meticulous in his dressing. So his style of playing was also. Something unique. He had his own style.
And was he a batsman?
He was a batsman, yeah, and a very charismatic person, as you know. He was very flamboyant in his own way. And then, of course, we had
always walked straight.
Very straight and all that. And then, of course, in the national level, we had an icon called Zulfikar Ali. He was a huge name also in East Africa. So he
what was he renowned for?
All-rounder. He was a captain, very charismatic, very respected cricketer internationally. So he was part of Sarali Muslim Club that dominated cricket in the 70s and I would say up to mid-80s.
Before that, what about our own club? Did we dominate in any way?
We were very strong in Mombasa. We won the league almost every year when it started in 1972, when it was the first time the league started. In those days, one-day cricket. Before it used to be it was two innings cricket. In the 50s and 60s, that's how they played. It would start on a Saturday, continue on Sunday, and if it's not finished, it follows the next Saturday and Sunday. That's how it used to be. It would be two innings.
Can you, in your research, did you find that, I know during colonial time, there was a division, Europeans, and then they would play their own clubs.
Yeah.
Obviously, sometimes they would mix, but otherwise it's basically Europeans or English to English or British to British. In your research, did you find that sports was like that as well? In terms of cricket, only Asians will play Asians, Africans did not play cricket, and Europeans will play, and sometimes they invite a few Asians to come and play. Was ethos like that?
Absolutely. In fact, 100 years ago, the colonial government gave land to each community. Now in Mombasa, if you're conversant, all the clubs were very nearby the community clubs. There was Jaffrey Sports Club, the Bohra community had the Hindu had their own club. So there were 3-4 clubs on community basis. And they would have their own leagues and all that. And then there used to be, for 1933 to 1966, an annual fixture between European versus Asians. It would be an annual talked about feature every year.
On race, Asian
versus European.
Yeah.
That's how it used to be. And Mombasa Sports Club, which was a completely white club, would never play away. If they had to play any matches, it would be at their ground, and if you are invited, you would talk about it 1 month before and talk about it another 3 months that you have played at Mombasa. It was more than a special thing. It was a very, very huge thing. And history was made in 1961 when the new pavilion was done at Jaffrey Sports Club in Mombasa, when Marhum Father Rashid was the chairman, my father was the captain, and because of his goodwill that he had in tennis and cricket with the whites, he managed to get Mombasa Sports Club to come and play at Jaffrey Sports Club for the opening of the pavilion. This was in 1961.
And it was a big thing.
It was a huge thing for them to come, first of all, for them to accept, then to come and to play at your club. So it was a huge thing. It's a very historic photograph in the book on that event.
Yeah. Unless if you want to, we can put that
yes,
picture, but I don't know why should we improve the image of that site.
No, but it was an important moment to let our viewers understand where we come from, what heritage we have, what history we have.
Yeah. So now I want to move on to you finish your secondary school, and then what happened?
Yeah, again, and I give a lot of credit to my parents for what happened after that. In those days, they were never in that position of being educated for various reasons. Economic conditions, the scenario then was different. Remember, they'd just come a few years before from migration, so survival was the day. But he felt that education was going to play a very important role for his children. So because we were doing well in tennis, and he had a good network, again through his sports. So one of his friends had migrated from Uganda to America. So he had visited us in 1978 when it was our last year, my brother's last year in high school, to say, now what's the way forward? So he realized that we were doing well in tennis. So he said, I'm going to give your kids an opportunity to come to America on a tennis scholarship. So my brother first went there on a tennis scholarship.
The brother?
Arif, who now lives in Uganda, and then I followed on the tennis scholarship. But the key thing was 2 important things that had to be done. One, that you must be good enough to be in the team for you to get a scholarship. And secondly, you must have minimum grades in your classes to survive in the team. Because if you do not meet one of the criteria, you lose your scholarship. So we were very focused. We knew what needs to be done for our survival, for our achievement. Because if any of those flows, you're back home. And that's your end of your opportunity. So he took courage with my mom. In those days, where for a young boy from Mombasa to go from Mombasa to Nairobi was unheard of. It was a huge thing. No, you cannot send your children. So here is a parent that's looking at a 17-year-old, sending him 10,000 miles away, where there was no, you know what I mean, there was no internet and there was no communication structures and all that. Right. So that's why he went to America, studied, played at the highest level of tennis, and then came back.
Now, in fact, you covered so much. I was going to go into that, but anyway, that's good. So now you come back to Mombasa. Qualified as what?
I qualified, I got my business administration degree.
Right, so you did a business administration
with insurance.
Yeah, with insurance. So you came to Mombasa. Then now you have to pick up. You did very well in tennis in the United States. Now, talk to us about how you sort of developed your cricketing career and your tennis career in Mombasa, starting with presumably club cricket, club tennis. And when did you then talk to us? When did you afterwards, after that, when did you sort of begin to be recognized as a national player, as a national talent?
Well, you will be surprised. Before I even went to America, I already played for the country.
Okay, talk
for
to
the
us
cricket
about
team.
that,
I played for Mombasa Sports Club in the season of 1980. Mombasa Sports Club was the only club from Mombasa that played the National League. So every week we would travel by bus 500 kilometers, go on a Saturday, play on Sunday, and come back to school, on a Monday. So that year there was a trip to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe had just become independent. They were known as Rhodesia. And Zimbabwe was a powerhouse in cricket. They were very closely related to playing cricket in South Africa, the famously Curry Cup and various other competition, because they were colonial, so they were excluded. Kenya was a powerhouse in East Africa. So when they got in cricket. Now when they got their independence, obviously there was a bilateral agreement to see, to play cricket. So there was a tour to Zimbabwe. I was on the reserve, and one of our players got injured in the last week, and I was called in. So went to Zimbabwe and played my first time for the national team at the age of 17, which was 1980. In 81 is when I went to America. So when I came back in 86, I started playing both in Mombasa, continuously, and I was in the national team consistently.
Of Kenya?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
I played for 23 years for the country.
So when you were elected first time to represent your country, how did you feel? What was your feeling?
It was a huge thing. It was a huge moment, because in those days, just to wear the green blazer, for the national team and to get the cap was a phenomenally huge thing. It was just beyond thing. You couldn't even sleep the night before that. Wow, I'm going on a tour. It was very exciting.
What was your first game like?
Well, first game was against Zimbabwe, and on debut, I didn't even know who the players were. I was a young boy, just to be there. And so I bowled the first ball, and the captain was Duncan Fletcher, who then went on to become the England coach.
That's right.
He then went on to become the India coach. And so on my first ball, I got his wicket, on debut. So that was another historic.
So what did he have to say when he?
Well, afterwards, when we met, of course, I went to him, and because I always believed in talking to seniors, giving them first the due respect, and to learn from them. So I asked him, what are the tips he can give me, and so we had a little chat, and he was very humble about it, and he also, of course, congratulated me for what happened on the ground.
I know you were a very good bowler.
Yeah.
When Essex played Nairobi, I think
we
all
played. That was 1986, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I got your wicket.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I just put my bet at the ball went to the slip. Now, Asif, now talk to us about your camaraderie with team players in national teams. I mean, you had a mixture of Asians and
Absolutely,
Africans, and how did you sort of, what was your rapport like with them?
Of course, when Kenya became at the international level, the dynamics changed because now you are going at world stage. Your expectations are higher. You're now playing at the World Cup.
Your expectation or the public's expectation?
Everybody's expectation, the players' expectations, the administration expectations. We are a young nation.
Was there a nervousness about it?
Absolutely. There was nervousness and excitement, because these are people you have seen on television, you have seen them on magazines. Now you're rubbing shoulders with them. Our first World Cup was in 1996 in India. So when I led the team from 97, it was...
Wait a minute. Now, before you go on to that, when you were given a captainship, what was your emotional life?
It was again a phenomenal for any sportsman to lead his nation. That's the ultimate, and then to lead a nation at the World Cup. That's beyond ultimate.
3 World Cups?
3 World Cups. Well, I led in 99. I was vice captain in 96. I was a captain in the one that was played in England in 99. We had the great opportunity to go to Lord's for the captain's meeting. It was another unique experience.
What was it like?
It was a unique experience. In that time, they had just built that new...
That's right, the new one. Pavilion, wasn't it?
Not the pavilion, commentating media house.
It looks like quite an unusual structure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It was huge in those days.
Yeah.
So all the captains met there. We were on the ground, and then we had a captains meeting. So it was a very special experience. I then retired, and then was asked to come back in 2003.
Yeah, but we'll come to that.
Yeah.
Because then you went to South Africa.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but before that, when you were rubbing shoulders with these international players, share some experiences of some well-known players that you may have met, and who was your, if I may say, who was your favorite then?
Yeah,
personality-wise.
Sure. 96 was the first World Cup when Kenya played, and we went to the subcontinent. Now, to play in India in normal cricket is a novelty. Now, when you go on to play a World Cup in India, it's phenomenal. I mean, the amount of following India has in cricket, it's a religion there.
And you beat West Indies.
And we in Pune we beat them. So when we played the first game against India, our mission then was that we would like to play honorable cricket, so that we are not disgraced. We know we were not going to win. We were not going with the expectation, but we must be competitive. That was the minimum target that the team had set. That we must be competitive because we want to build a nation of cricket, so that as we move along, Kenya now becomes a powerhouse.
So people then stand on your shoulders.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the whole idea. And so when we played the first match against India in Cuttack, by the time we finished and we came back, we lost the match in a very credible fight. We scored over about 200 runs, and they got it in the 44th over, 4 wickets or something. So when we went back into the dressing room and we had a chat about it, all the players felt, hey, these guys are good, but we are no less. If we push ourselves and start believing in ourselves, we can be much more competitive.
So that win did something?
No, we lost that match.
Oh, you lost it?
We lost against India.
Against India. West Indies you won. Yeah.
But then, so I'm saying, as we progressed, we started having self-belief.
Oh, right. Okay.
In the team.
Yeah.
And the coach really had a lot of faith in us. Hanuman Singh was a former Indian cricketer. He was our coach.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of belief in us, more than we had in ourselves initially. So as we progressed into the tournament, we got stronger and stronger. We played Australia. We were very competitive against them. We then played Zimbabwe. We lost to them. And then we played West Indies, in Pune. And that is regarded as one of the biggest upset in the sporting history of the world.
At the time, it was
It was huge. I mean, it became CNN News. In those days, CNN News, it was huge if you're appearing on that. So that
you
was
were
in
a
Pune.
vice president.
I was vice captain,
yeah. So that was obviously exhilarating for all of you. Now we come to your captainship. You were recalled. You retired. Why did you retire?
Well, I first of all played for 20 years for the country, which was good enough. Remember, cricket never paid us. We played for the passion of the sport. And there was a young family that I had. Plus the politics was coming in, and then you feel, it's better people ask you, why did you retire, instead of when are you retiring? That one word changes the whole meaning. So I came out when the going was good for me, though I felt deep down that was required there as the leader, because the dynamics at international level, you needed somebody to handle the team well, because as you asked me the question, we had a mixed group of people. Remember, we had Asians and Africans.
That's right, yeah.
Then in the Africans, we have different tribes. In the Asians, we have Hindus and Muslim.
Right.
Then to top it all, we had people who were educated, and unfortunately some were uneducated. Now to lead a group of that and to do well at the international level required a lot of sobriety, a lot of maturity, and a lot of tactical handling, because remember, it's a team sport and everybody's nature and psychology is different. So to balance that all out, needed some maturity on the handle. So I felt at that stage Kenya was a growing team. It was still a young nation in terms of international cricket, but the politics was outweighing the situation. So I said it's better I come out. And what happened 4 years later, the same people who were trying to drive me out, or who did drive me out, came back to me asking, please, can you come back? The team needs you.
Right. So presumably, to represent your country, you decided, okay, I will go back and do whatever I can for Kenya.
Absolutely.
So now you are a captain of Kenya cricket team, and you are in the World Cup, and it's South Africa. So explain to us what was happening as you progress towards that ultimate thing that we were all watching. I think we were all excited.
Yes, yeah.
I want to come to that. So perhaps you can lead us to that.
Yeah, so what happened in 2003, there were so many issues that were in the team that the board, there was almost a mutiny taking place in the team.
This was during playtime?
No, this is as we are building to 2000,
okay.
how I came back.
Yeah.
So there was a mutiny being talked about in the team. Now Kenya is growing. We are doing well. We are now going to a 2003 World Cup where, remember, Bangladesh, that very stage, got their test status. We were above Bangladesh at that level. Now here is Bangladesh getting the test status. Kenya was being talked about test status. When you talk about test status, the money coming in is huge. I mean, I'm told about $10 million every test playing nation in those days were getting every year.
It's a huge amount.
Yeah, very huge amount. I mean, you see where Bangladesh has gone. I mean, they have taken their cricket to a new level.
That's right. Yeah.
So the board felt that this cannot be accepted. So biting their tongue, they had to come back very scared how to handle me, because when you do something wrong, it will always bite you at the end of the day. So irrespective, the nation is greater than an individual. So I felt, well, if they need me, it was not an easy decision to make. I had to consult Nazdin, my wife, and we had a little discussion. There was some reluctancy because of what had happened. So she said, do you want to go back, and they may hurt you again, in terms of the issues. But then, they required me, and the dangling was a World Cup. I mean, a World Cup is a World Cup, So, but I believed in myself that I could do the job. And so I accepted that request, and I joined the team. I gave it my best. I mean, I must be the only cricketer internationally to have played from one World Cup to another World Cup, nothing in between. Internationally, But it was a World Cup.
That's the first one.
Yeah. So I trained with the team, and of course, a lot of things had to be managed well, and things went well. So when we went into the World Cup, again, the job was that we must be competitive, because it was important that Kenya keeps the reputation that it is a force to reckon with in cricket. So we did well, and the moment we beat Sri Lanka, again former world champions, we beat them, the sense of belief started growing in the team. All the problems were put aside, because the tournament was held in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. We hosted 2 matches. So beating Sri Lanka at home with a full packed crowd of 15,000.
Oh, must be very,
it was
very,
a phenomenal. So that was the turning point for us. And then we kept beating. We beat 3 test playing nations. We beat Sri Lanka, we beat Bangladesh, and we beat Zimbabwe.
MashaAllah.
So we beat all of them, and then went into the semi-finals. As the team started believing, started growing, and we were enjoying.
Semi-finals again?
Now we were to play India, but we had already qualified after beating Zimbabwe because of the point system.
Yeah.
But we had to play Australia before the semi-finals, and that again was a huge match that all the players wanted to play, because it's not very often that you get an opportunity to play the world champions. Australia then was regarded as the best one-day team ever in the history of Australian cricket. So most of us were dying to get the opportunity. We'd hope that you'd be selected for that match and to play the game.
Right, so now a time comes when you were given a ball, and the umpire was, what's his name?
Steve Buckner.
Steve Buckner, yes. And you were bowling the established, internationally recognized player.
Correct.
Did you have in mind that you were going to get them out?
When I came to bowl, as we're going to see it on the clip.
What I'll do is, let's look at that and you commentate, because I think that's important. So we'll put and then now, if you can just commentate, let's having a look at it.
Okay. So Kenya, when we scored 100 I think it was about 170 is what we had scored. And by the time I came to bowl, Australians were 109 for 2 or 15 overs. So it was just going through motions, So I was given the ball, so I came into bowl. Ricky Ponting was batting, a huge name, Australian captain. So I bowled to him the first one, and I saw there was a turn on the wicket. He played it down. I bowled the second one, he got beaten. As you see, it was dropped.
Yes.
All of a sudden, I said to myself, no, I'm not going to go through motion here. I'm going to give it my best. As far as I'm concerned, he's another cricketer like me. I'm not
you
going
had
to.
That belief.
I've always had the strength and strong belief
MashaAllah.
in myself and my ability. I said, I'm going to make it the best that I can. Let him get the runs that he needs to get. And then I kept the pressure on him. And on the 5th ball, I bowled him an arm one. And as they say, rest was history. You get a wicket that of a batsman that has dominated world cricket, for so many years. It was a pleasure. And then I kept the pressure on, got 3 wickets. That spell is being talked about in every interview that I do. And fortunately, on the Facebook page of ICC, they have put this clip that we have just watched, and has 34 million views plus to date.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a huge thing. Yeah, it's huge. I mean,
So you
sometimes...
took Ricky Ponting,
Correct,
and then
yeah.
you did
Darren Lemon was another formidable
one.
cricketer.
That's
Got
right.
his wicket, and then Brad Hogg.
MashaAllah. Yeah. So when you did those, you must have felt over the moon.
I mean, you cannot get a better finish in your 23-year
No,
career
that's
than
right,
to do well against the world champions. We lost that match, but I was given man of the match.
Yes.
So that again is very unusual.
Yes,
that
of
the
course.
commentators who are the jury on deciding who the man of the match would be, and with the match referee, I mean, those were huge names there. There was Richie Bano, Michael Holding,
Yes.
Former England coach, I'm forgetting his name now. And so there were huge names deciding on who the man of the match will
And
be.
suddenly Asif Karim has
name
become
appears. So, yeah.
a well-known brand now.
Yeah, indeed. Alhamdulillah, thank God.
Alhamdulillah, yeah. Asif, now I want to come back to another leadership that I think you assume within the community, and that is you became the chairman of the Nairobi Jamaat. Now, the name is is it Saj?
Shia Ithna-Asheri Jamaat.
There's no Khoja in there?
That is the only Jamaat in East Africa that does not have the
What
word
was the
Khoja,
rationale?
because that was a community can I use the word inherited. It was really formed by the Punjabis.
So the Jamaat was formed by the
But
Punjabis?
Punjabis in the 50s, 40s, 50s, around
Right.
that time. And then the Khojas started coming in more frequently in the 60s and more so in the 70s. But Saj then became a member of Africa Federation.
Right.
But that is the only Jamaat, I think, that does not have the word Khoja, Shia
Within the
Jamaat,
East
in
Africa,
Nairobi.
yeah,
For
okay.
Nairobi.
So now, how did you get involved with the community life?
Well, that was also another very interesting phase because I had never worked in the community in terms of any membership position, but some of the people, members felt that I should take that role. And so, of course, it came to me as a surprise thinking that. But so I did become the chairman in 2009. And like any chairman, his job is to ride on the platform of what has been done by the past, as not as in competition, but as in complementing on the work that has been done, because there's always unfinished business by every committee. So we looked at the areas of where we felt that some of the unfinished business was there. What are the new needs? Because the needs keep changing of the community with time. And so we looked at several of the areas as a committee and looked at how we can enhance, grow while we are there, because that's the responsibility that we need to take it to a higher level. And so I took that as a challenge, had a very strong committee, very good support, and we looked at various areas and needs of the community to grow.
So what was the biggest need in your evaluation that came out for you to then take up as a project?
Well, one of the big things that we felt was housing, because every human being's wish and prayer, like any father or an elder, would that by the time I leave the world, I would like my family to have something good, and no better than housing. So we did have the challenges in the community for the first time buyers, who had a problem. So we identified a land near our new complex in Lavington.
This Lavington complex, can you shed some light in the history of Lavington, whatever you can?
Yes. I think Lavington history came in 1988-89 when the land was allocated through the courtesy of Marhum Al-Haj Ashiq Hussain Rashid.
All right.
He, in my view, and I strongly advocate that he was the father of the Lavington complex. Whatever we have today right now, my full credit goes to him.
Right. Okay. So Ashik was pivotal.
Absolutely pivotal. He was the one who brought these 13, 14 acres that we have, where we have the mosque, the imambara, the school, the madrasa, and the club. So he played a very, very instrumental role in where we are today.
Right, right. So whose idea was to then make it in a complex? The land came from Ashik. Then was it Ashik who proposed that we should have a complex there, or was it a community decision, or was it a decision by a couple of people who felt that we should have that? Anything historical?
I mean, any such project has to be consented by the community members, but you need a driver. And
Who was the driver?
And the driver was Ashik. Marhum Ashik was the driver for this entire thing. Incidentally, he moved to Nairobi in 86, 87. He used to live in Mombasa.
I remember Ashik very well, because when the first international cricket was organized.
The festival in
19... cricket festival, international.
Correct.
It was at Nairobi, and I think he did a wonderful job.
He indeed.
Very good organizers, I have to say.
No, he loved his community. He loved what he did. He did it with a lot of passion. I have a lot of admiration for.
And also, he resolved a lot of conflicts as well, particularly in Somalia.
Indeed, he played also a very instrumental role in the Somalia crisis with his brother Sajjad, and they played a very important role on this. So they have. Ashik, to me, was inspirational. He meant a lot of good for the community.
Sincere man.
Indeed, and I have no hesitation to say that he was the father of the Lavington complex.
So the complex was built, and now it's being enjoyed by the community.
Indeed, we have. I think we have one of the best centers in the world, where you have imambara, you have a mosque, a school, a madrasa, and a sports club.
Yeah. So you decided to build a housing project within Lavington.
Yeah, we had various projects, but one of the key projects was to do a housing project for the first-time buyers. So that we give them an opportunity where we would build it and
that
sell.
Was the objective.
Absolutely, the objective was to give it to them at cost or below cost, and the below cost would be for us, the committee, to go out and look for funding where required. And funding is and support is, I've always believed, is in two ways. One is financial support, and second is in-kind support. For example, if you have somebody who has got a factory of tiles, they'll say, okay, I'm going to give you for 10 houses, tiles will be from me. So that in itself is a huge support. So through the network that myself and my committee had, we had targeted very clearly that we are going to give this and take our community members to another level. And that is not a favor, it's a responsibility of the leadership. When you take a position, what is your job? Your job is to empower and to grow your members. And so that would have gave us a lot of satisfaction that we are doing something that will empower the community. And today we have 50 flats that is owned by the community members, which is not far from the complex.
So Asif, why don't you go beyond that and become the chairman of Africa Federation?
Well, there are people talking about it. I think I served my time 5 years in the Jamaat. I took a back seat. Again, politics is part and parcel of one's
But
one's
you can
life.
overcome it.
Oh, very much so. I mean, I know how to win and I know how to lose.
Right.
So as a sportsman is important.
That
and I have a saying, always say that to be a winner, you must first learn how to lose. If you don't know how to lose, you can never be a winner.
Right, okay.
So that's let's say a work in progress.
Right. And inshallah, we'd like to see you put all those experience and contribution towards community life now. Married?
Yes, for 37 years now.
So, wife, which family does she come from?
Sherili Ahmed Qasim, Marhum Sherili Ahmed Qasim, also a very renowned family globally. Originally from Uganda, now most of their family members live in.
So Nazneen is also, Nazneen mentioned before.
Yes,
so Nazneen is also does charity work, I take it.
A lot of charity work. She does fantastic work, complimenting on the work that we do. She is supporting different things when what I am doing. I'm promoting sports.
So she is your right-hand person then?
Absolutely. I mean, without
all the credit goes to her.
Indeed. They say behind every successful man There's a woman.
So now what about children? How many children?
I've got 4 children.
Yeah.
My daughter is married and she lives in England. She's married to Murtaza. She's is a mother. She's an engineer herself. My son Irfan is a professional cricketer. He's the third generation.
Is he going in your footsteps?
Indeed, and I hope he goes ahead. He's playing for the national team. Unfortunately, as I said, the cricket at the moment is down. He's had a good stint at Loughborough University, where he played for the main team. They won a tournament. He represented England in the University World Cup that was played in Dehradun in 2015, where he was declared best batsman. So he's playing at a good level. He's coaching there also. He's taking that as his profession.
Right. And
then
you have one more
I have a younger daughter, Zainab, who's a teacher here in London, and the youngest is finishing his final year, Imran, at the University of Portsmouth.
Right, mashallah. So now, finally, Asif, we also have our ups and downs in sports. What I recollect is that sports is really a lot of individuals putting their effort together and moving forward. But institutionally, we have never had a forum, global or regional, where it's become a core event, annual event within the institution. I'm not talking about a sporting event in a festival. I mean a recognition within our institutional forums where globally the leadership and the community meet and sport becoming recognized. So you must have a view about our sporting level within the community. Perhaps you may want to share, having gone through the international level, because I don't think anyone has, the achievements that you have achieved in your life. What sort of view would you have, or what sort of advice would you have to the community and the community leadership about sports generally in the community? I think progress has been made. Nobody's denying that. But do we need to do more in the community? You can address the leadership and the community.
Sports now is a way of life. There was a time when we were young, we all played sports as a passion, where people's career had you either become an accountant or a doctor or a pharmacist. In the last 20-25 years, sports has now become a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a way of life. I mean, we are all followers of various sporting events that we love, whether it's Formula One, whether you look at the European Football League, whether you look at the cricket. It's huge. IPL is a classic example. Our community has historical records of talent in sports, but most of us played at the casual level and we left it from then on. I think the dynamics have to change, and it needs to start from home. It then needs to go to the community level, it then needs to go to the regional level, and then to the world level. And this is a collective responsibility where we need to take sports with the seriousness that it deserves. Because our community is very talented. I mean, if you look at the sports that is played by Stanmore Jaffrey, you see the talent that is there. So the question is, how do we do it? First, the leadership needs to acknowledge that sports is an integral part of our life, part of our community. We need to create a structure of how sports can be taken to a new level. For example, we need to create a scouting team where their job is to go and scout for talent that is available. I was a classic example almost 40 years ago where I got a scholarship to study. Today, education is not a cheap affair. It's a very expensive affair. If sports can be used as a medium where the talented sports person, whether male or female, can use that talent and get a scholarship, that will ease the pressure on the student and the parents. We can take this to a new level, and I strongly appeal to the leadership to take the sports with the seriousness it deserves and bring in like-minded people to see how we can take these sports to an international level. Thank you.
So we need to now institutionalize these sports in a much more progressive way than we have done so far.
Indeed, because we have always taken it casually. Okay, there is a sports event. Say, I don't think
That's not enough anymore.
no, that's not even the way to
And the
handle
other thing,
it.
Asif, we, as you say, we have to recognize that sports is not only for playing; it's now a lifestyle as
Indeed.
well for all strata of our community, from young child, because as you know, there is an issue within the children as well of putting on weight and all that. So sports is very important there. Sports is very important for youth, for middle age, for old age, seniors, male and female.
Indeed,
So
because
we need to
absolutely.
So we need to make sure that it's now a lifestyle and therefore must be a priority also for the community.
Indeed, if you look at the youths right now, they have so many choices. Unlike our time, we didn't have much choice. Today you have social media, you have so many things that they have an option. So sports has gone to the level that is done. Like today in East Africa, our community at sports level is almost non-existent,
Right.
which is a tragedy.
Yeah.
So we need to really revamp and give a new thinking.
And I think those drivers at the highest level, at a leadership level, have to take that on board now.
Indeed.
And with that positive message, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Asif, for enlightening
Thank you.
us with all your experiences and your life journey. And I have to say that a lot of people from our community have represented at the state level and the national level, but there are rare few who have broken the boundary into the international level and at the World Cup, and what you have achieved has been an inspiration. Not only at the sporting level, but also you put yourself forward to become a chairman of the community. And with all these experiences, I'm sure the community is going to benefit a lot in the future. So I think a lot of us will be inspired with this particular conversation that we've had together.
I also want to thank you, Septan Bhai, for the initiative that you have taken, and the various interviews that you have done. I think is one of the important roles that you have taken to get a few issues historically recorded, because these are all valuable information that is the responsibility of this generation to let the future generation know where our history is.
Inshallah,
So
inshallah.
continue with the great job.
Yeah. And with that, I think we are going to say Khuda Hafiz to our listener. Until next time, inshallah.